once again to our facilitators. Delilah Rosili, I'm so glad to see you online. I'm so glad you're adding value to the society through this means. So I want to say Jazakallah khairan to you.
I mean, welcome.
Okay, while we are waiting for others, I really want us to listen to a brief introductory part from one of our facilitators. Just give us a brief introductory part to our theme for today's International Youth Day. So I also want to congratulate all youths that in the midst of all, we were given a particular day to celebrate ourselves. Now we want us to make judicious use of our youth age to be productive and add value to our society. So I was aware of, from the history, we learned that so many of our fathers, including many politicians, actually started their political careers while they were at their early youth stage, as well as our fathers. Some of them had their first building at 24, 25. So what is going on with us? I pray Allah will be with us and guide us in our endeavors, inshallah. So I want to call on Seda. Okay, let me start with Mrs. Bombata Bushra. Kindly give us an overview of what depression, the impact of depression on youth productivity in the psychosocial view, because we want to know what about it. We want to know a lot about it. We want to learn from it. In 5 minutes time, inshallah, kindly give us an overview so that we won't take much time because of the technical becoming. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, please. Mrs. Bombata.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Can you hear me, please?
Sure, I can.
Yeah, I actually wanted to take permission because I have a waiting appointment for 5:45. So I wanted to really seek your indulgence to quickly make my contribution and leave because I have a waiting appointment and I'm dealing with a client not in Nigeria. So we've already scheduled the time. So I was thinking that we are going to start by 5, but I'll quickly say what I have to say right now. Coupled with the fact that the network is actually very, very bad. I don't know what the problem is, but I am not a psychologist. So I'm not going to be talking about what depression is bad, and I'm not going to be defining depression, or I'm not going to tell you, okay, the symptoms of depression and all of that. What I'm basically going to be doing is I want to talk about the effect of depression on students, productivity, their performances in school and all of that. And also the effect on depression on individuals who are working either as an entrepreneur or as an employee. And also I'll be talking at like in the line of individual who is in a marriage, as in how depression can affect the marriage as a whole, the couple talking about, inshallah. Network, network, bad. Wow.
Moderator, please, you can continue.
Hello?
Unmute.
Okay, please go ahead. Kindly take your time because of your appointment, please.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I quickly want to appreciate the organizers of this program because at this time where a lot of youths are thinking of using their time for something not productive, I really appreciate the fact that the organizers are coming together to bring youths together for something that is productive. I'm really impressed. You know, we don't really find this these days among youths. We all want to make money and stuff like that. So I really want to say the example like Karen for to those who have put this piece together. May Allah reward you. Like I said earlier, I'm a counselor. I deal with youths, and my core is marriage. As in, I deal with youth going into marriage, youths who are already in marriage, and adults who are in marriage, and also individuals who intend to settle down and all of that. So, but I have a couple of times. I've been in a couple of times. I've worked with depression, individuals, and all of that. So I have a little experience. I have more than enough, sorry, experience with youths, students, individuals, married couples who are actually dealing with depression. So I'll first of all talk about students with the okay, so mental goal of students, no doubt about it. And we have some factors which are affecting their low turnout. I mean, their low performance academically. So most of the time, we focus our attention on some other stuff like disengaging parents, low quality care, bad or poor teaching and all of that. But recent times, we discover that mental disorder, especially depression, has been the root cause of majority of all these problems. So it's more like a vicious circle. Depression will cause poor performance, and poor performance will in turn cause depression. Then when I talk about depression causing poor performance, means that when we most of the time we want to fight the child, blame the child, do a lot of stuff with the child. The wrong we are focusing on the wrong aspect of it, thinking that we are going to bring out the best out of the kid or probably the students, but we are in turn doing more harm to the kid. So we are going to be talking about parents, teachers, individuals, caregivers who are actually taking care of the students to look more into what the problem is. Like I said earlier, we have an expert in the house who is going to talk to us what depression is all about, the definition of depression, causes of depression. So I don't want to bore us again with what depression is all about and all of that. So I want us parents to focus on the problems that an individual can Hello, assalamu
Okay.
alaikum.
Walik Samtla.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I think there's a problem with my network and it's giving me a lot of problem challenges. Okay, as I was saying, I was talking on students, as in, and when I talk about students, this depression of the thing, the mental disorders and all of that starts with when most of it, when you notice it in youth, starts with when they were actually young and it was not properly taken care of. So when you diagnose depression in adults, majority of times it starts from when they were actually young, and we focus our attention on something else. So, like an individuals, parents, teachers, caregivers, we have to look into depression as a major cause of so many problems around our kids than focusing our attention on, and sometimes we are the major cause of depression for them. We want to compare them, we want to snap at them on every other stuff, and we want to just bully them sometimes. We individually bully them. I have an experience, a personal experience. Like I said earlier, I was teaching before I move. I have a long journey. I don't want to bore you with my journey of life before I became a counselor. So at some point of my life, I taught a particular pupil. She was in basic 3 at that time, and she was doing fine in basic 3. She was doing fine. When she crossed to basic 4, she was actually doing fine. And when it was, I think, second term, I had to leave the school for another stuff. So when she was in basic 4, second term, and going to basic 4, third term, and she started, performing poorly in school. And instead of the mother to look for the root cause of the problem, they started snapping, beating to the extent that the mother used blade on her, used cane on her, and it was on her body. And I felt really bad. So the moment I saw her, she saw me one of those days, and she was like, Mrs. Bomb, I'm going to report you. Mama, feel your job more soon. She kept on reporting the baby and all of that. I felt, okay, let me have a one-on-one discussion with her. The moment I wanted to have a discussion with her, she asked me the mother to excuse us, that she has a whole lot to talk about. So when I started talking, she burst into tears and was like, she hated her mom and all of that and all of that. So I was so curious that what was the problem. Unknowing to the mother, she was after an academic upgrade, whereas there was an underlying problem, which she was sexually molested as at around, I think she was 9 years old at that time, under the roof of her mom. She didn't know anything. The mom doesn't know anything. And she kept on fighting her. Each time she wants to talk, she become withdrawn. She become depressed at that, and she couldn't perform well. She was all lost. She'll be lost in class. And not until we addressed that particular issue, that was when she came out of that depression. And we started, some some we had to do some sort of stuff with her before she left that circle. And it took us a while before she get out of that. We did some talk therapy, behavioral therapy, and before she came out of that. So like I was saying, depression is a big deal, and it is causing a whole lot in the performance of students, like I said, and in young adults who are in the university. So many causes, so many things to cause that. Like a 17, 16, 18-year-old child going into the university at that time, leaving the house for the first time, leaving the family for the first time, a different environment entirely, can cause the person to withdraw.
Okay. I guess the network problem. While waiting for her, I'm kind of enjoying a section as well because it's a kind of I have a very I have an experience when it comes to talking about parental influence on depression. Is a tough one for me. For example, we used to have this kind of orientation that my child will understand. You know, when you have about 3 kids you're taking care of, and you have your personal child, I mean, the child you fathered, this kind of orientation we'll have for you is, okay, if I want to pay, if you the request for 1 or 2 things at the same time, you prefer to give orders and neglect your child. You tell yourself, after all, she's my child, she will understand. So it's a tough thing for us during that period of time. So we can't keep understanding. You know, you have to give us ours. You have to understand that we are person as well. So maybe that's because of the network. We are enjoying our section. She's just trying to tell us the influence of parents on causes of impression. You know, let me quickly dive this before doctor would say his own section, because my father always wanted me to be a doctor. So it is a great pressure on me. You know, you have to be a doctor. You have to be a doctor. You have to go to science class. He chose the class. He chose everything. But here we are today. So, but must everybody be a doctor? It was hectic for me. So that's one of those things that we have. So depression is actually about change of mood. But when it becomes a very, very severe one, it could lead to death, it could lead to sickness, and it could lead to madness. And that's it, you know. And some of the signs of when you're depressed is when you sleep too much, when you talk too much, when you're self-isolating yourself, you get that kind of thing. You just want to be alone. You just understand yourself. So it's one of those signs that you're depressed. Before doctor will talk, there's one depression that I found it rampant these days, which is about postpartum depression. It's a kind of depression facing women. We need to be aware about that. You know, such situation, you find out that after you give birth, you just find out that you're crying, especially when it's your first child. Maybe you don't know how to go about it. You cry a lot, you become sad and all that. And before you know, you lose you lose contact between the person you were before you got married to the person you are after you gave birth to your first child. So that is another example of depression. So while saying thank you to Mrs. Bushra Bombata, I also want to tell you that the next section you're going to listen to the overview of depression on youth productivity, and you're going to be listening from the doctor's mouth how depression is treated and other things he has got for us. So inshallah, I want to invite Dr. Shubanke to come online so that he could address us on the medical perspective of depression facing the youth, thereby causing reduction in our productivity. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, please. Please unmute your microphone. Unmute it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Once again, Dr. Shubanke Adewale, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone in the house. This beautiful evening, I'll be discussing about depression and its effect on the youth. In as much as I really want to tell us what depression is, I would have preferred that this becomes an interactive section, because is misunderstood misunderstood generally what depression actually means. Because if you check all definitions, depression is termed to be common, is extremely common, especially in our society today. As the name implies, is Mrs. Miriam has elaborated some of the symptoms and some of the things that we realize when we notice any persons with depression.
I just need to find out. You were having kata yesterday, and that my temperature.
Can other participant mute their microphone so that we can have a an each free session? I would appreciate that. All right. Yeah, like I said, it's a very common mental illness. Just yesterday night, I was telling my wife that does she know that there's a difference between psychology and psychiatry? Just like Mrs. Maria was trying to point out, because people misconstrue what the true concept of depression is, and it's easily diagnosed. However, is common in our society because according to WHO, saying that depression comes with depressed mood. We know what a mood could be, a state of mind. Then people could have loss of interest, or they could be feeling guilty. They could even have a low self-esteem. And on a very worse note, they could have a difficulty in sleeping. They could have low appetite. They could portray array of symptoms, just like somebody having a low energy and finding it difficult to concentrate because something is always crossing his or her mind. So something comes to mind that could this person be depressed? She mentioned some types of uh, of depression the other time. It's good to say that depression actually is a continuum. Most of the depressive episodes that come is usually a continuum because the there's something that is called a bipolar disorder. Is there are two extremes. I hope you can see my hand. My right hand is an extreme of depression, and my left hand is an extreme of somebody being too isolated or being too. Sorry, I'm sorry. Like I was saying, there are two extremes. On one extreme is the depressive episode, and another extreme is a manic episode. What I mean by manic episode is somebody being in a very high mood, doing something that is off the record. It is good to say that psychological symptoms or psychiatric disorder is what um, you could term as something that is out of the norm of in a society. For example, in Nigeria, we have our cultural values, we have our moral values, and we also have personal values. If you see anyone that is outside of those values, then you can easily say that, oh, there's a problem with this person. So if you go to another society, it could just be okay. Those values that you feel that is not normal. Sorry, just a minute.
Use your mic, ma. Use your mic.
I forgot. Now, I want us to, while waiting for Doctor, I want to quickly address that this program is organized by the TYBei Empowerment Initiative, and is celebrating the International Youth Day, which is August 12th. So the doctor should kindly signify when he's online back. Thank you. So the theme of today's program is the depression and its impact on youth productivity. That is the theme of today. So I want us to quickly gesticulate about how do you feel when you see a 24, let's say a less than 24-year-old being a billionaire in Nigeria today. You get it? So how do you feel about it? How do you manage the mental excessiveness from the parent influence? Look like, okay, look at this girl. You guys are the same age. Look at how she's driving. Look at how she's doing this and all that. Even if the means is illegal, what do you think about it? So we are still waiting for Doctor, inshallah. We are still waiting for Doctor, inshallah. So can you let us know when he's online?
I think Doctor is online. He just needs to unmute his mic and the video too. I can see him online.
Okay, I'm not seeing him. That is why I'm standing here and pending time he comes back. Okay, while waiting for him, you should kindly say Taslim when he's back. So how do you feel about these unemployment issues facing us these days? As a graduate, you have gone to school, ensure that you graduated with a very good remark, and yet we couldn't find a place, a job placement in the country, and which is not actually your fault. So how do you cope with the depressing mood? I mean, by then, most of us have this highlight of what we want to be, how we want to go, how we want to live. But it's so unfortunate that the situation of the country is pathetic. So that kind of mood we have then is as a result of depression. So that's things like that. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Schultz.
Continue. I'm so sorry.
No problem, please proceed.
I'm so sorry. I hope I'm on right now.
Sure, you are on, sure.
All right. So I was talking about going out of the cultural values of any society.
No.
That is actually what is termed as an abnormal disorder. I was bringing another society that sees something as norm. For example, people getting married earlier at the age of 18 or 19. If you find somebody in another society, probably the Yoruba society, you find some people that negate these acts and have their own belief. So you can't take out moral beliefs, religious beliefs, cultural values, moral values as something that you shouldn't consider when you are considering something to be abnormal when it comes to psychiatric conditions. So we're going to talk about that depression. There are two extremes. Depression is just one of an extreme, and the other extreme is a manic episode. Just doing something related, high mood and all that, something very unusual that is unusual to the society. And depression, on the other hand, withdrawing to yourself in an unusual way to the society. This is also abnormal and is not something that is in tandem with what is obtainable in our society. Now, we can talk about those types of depression that she was trying to mention. Basically, I'm going to talk about that first one she talked about, the postpartum depression. Pregnancy is termed as a very stressful condition for women. So we advocate that the reproductive health physicians advocate that you should support women in pregnancy and all. You find women that don't get the deserved care in pregnancy, going through some very hard times, and after giving birth, or probably they gave birth eventually and they gave birth to a stillbirth, they can go into what is termed as a postpartum depression. Um, that is one. The other one can be termed as a seasonal affective disorder. It just comes, but is not viewed to be is not viewed to be something that is constant. It comes and goes, but there seems to be a fixed period when this condition comes and when this condition disappears. We also have the catatonic depression. I will not want to bore you about that, but I just want to tell you about the ones that are very common. That is the postpartum depression as related to what Sister Miriam has in our society. Globally, it is said 350 million people of all ages suffer from, and that is a lot. If you put that into statistics, that is quite a lot of a number. And you agree with me that there will be some outliers, some numbers that were not captured. This was just an estimate. All right. United States of America is being said that about 15 to 44 major depression will lead to people in the age of 15 to 44. That is our own age group of this depression that is going to lead to probably a disability, because it causes. I'm still going to talk about the complication when I get there. And it's also said that about 30% of people in the US live society. The number of people that comes into the hospital with because when they are depressed, they usually do not come. But when they have the other extreme, the manic episode, you find them coming to the hospital because people are going to bring them to the hospital that this person is mad. That's what it's tend to be. But they're not going to tell you that at some point has been unable to keep up with the norms of the society. So these are the problems. You also have the issue of poor seeking health habits of Nigerians, making it very difficult for us to have a good data. Generally, the causes of depression could be that there's a genetic for all diseases, there's always a genetic part and an environmental part. So we now consider what does the environment play for you to develop such disease, and what role does genetics play for you to develop such disease. All right. There have been some postulations about the causes of depression. Some people have talked about the biochemical factor, still part of the environmental factor. I'm saying I just put it under two headings. I talked about genetics and environment. Some people said other environmental causes. Some believe that there are some biochemical factors that can cause depression. Some chemicals in the brain that are referred to as neurotransmitters, that when they are deficient in the brain, there seems to be some poor signaling, because everything in the body is connected, and there's a signaling that usually occur in the body that gives a coordinated control of all activities. Now, there could also be some endocrine factor. Have you heard about women having their menstrual period and saying that, oh, I have a very poor mood, I'm feeling sick, or they are just in their own state. They don't want to. So you find women like that, and you wonder why is this happening to you during your menstrual period. So that could be some endocrine factors that are in play. All right. So people who use drugs, people who use who abuse drugs, and people who take alcohol also have the problem. You can say that alcohol actually gives a sort of
okay,
alcohol actually gives a sort of euphoria. Some people take alcohol that because they're actually deep. Sorry, I need to open the gate of my house.
Okay, salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Sorry, I can't make do with my video, but I want to say thank you to Thor for giving us an overview and an internal exposure to what depression is all about and the various types. But while we go ahead, I also want us to have a meditation on one or two things we have gone through that might have made us in one way or the other. So I want to encourage us and to let us know that the world is aware that the youth are depressed. But we are going to go through, inshallah. I hope doctor is back. So I want to use this avenue to tell you that this program is organized by the TYBei, the TYBei Empowerment Initiative, to celebrate the International Youth Day, which is August 12th, inshallah, with the theme of and its productivity and its impact on youth productivity. So what would have it? Sometimes you might have a beautiful idea, but if you face a challenge of not implementing the idea, it's simply because we are depressed, and that is one of those things. So how about the motherly influence on we ladies or women getting married or having a prospect of getting a spouse? We all know how it is when you get one, and your mother will compare you with a friend and look at your guy, look at where he is, look at what you're doing, you're going through hell. I told you not to work with this kind of guy, it's kind of depressing. So and I want to say kudos to all women online, inshallah, because we are really going through a whole lot. Having to consider that we have the contribution of hormones on our mood swings, like the doctor has said, and which is making significant impact on our mood mutation. So I hope doctor is back online. Assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Assalamu barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Yes.
I want to say thank you to all participants. You actually made the day the best because you are being part of the program has made it a success. So I want to say Jazakumullah khairan. to you all for honoring this invitation and being part of this program. I want to say thank you very much. If you also want to join the organization, you have the free will. Terms and conditions applied, inshallah. So, Dr. Shobanke, please, are you online? Are you online?
Yes, I am.
Okay, how about the suicidal approach to what depression really means? Thank you.
All right. That's why I
See
said
you
I would
online.
prefer an interactive session because we can go
So how
on
about the
and
suicidal
on
approach to
to
what
talk about what depression is.
the suicidal approach? We had issues of people taking sniper these days. They are depressed. I mean, you can always open up to people, and we should know that when we say we are depressed because of situations, many people. Dr. Sholine.
Yes, I am. Actually, suicidal
Kindly say
approach.
Taslim, please.
Salamu alaikum wa
Wa
barakatuh.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please proceed.
When we talk about suicidal approach as a complication of depression, it's quite it's the most common complication of depression. However, it's also a continuum because before a patient thinks about suicide, let's go into what is called suicidal ideation. They have the idea, they have it planned in their, should I take a sniper, should I take this, should I take jig and all. So it's a common complication of complication have the person having low it could be from organic up to an inorganic manifestation. What I mean by organic is that it could also give some bodily or medical problems, and it could it could also worsen the depression or the depressive episode, as the case may be. All right. Who resort to suicide because they have a low mood. They eventually have no reason to live. They see themselves useless, low him. Uh, this nail on is the issue of drug use. Because people who abuse drug, alcohol, tend to have a lot of depressive episode because the alcohol level changes it changes the neurotransmitters in the brain and causes some imbalance. When there are those imbalances, there's definitely going to be a problem because I explained the coordination in the brain earlier on. So there most likely be issue symptoms can in turn manifest. We also drugs, so other things like viral illnesses, social illnesses that could manifest eventually as that could be complicated with depression. Even diabetes mellitus, I'm sure we are acquainted with that. Some other diseases. So there are so many postulates, but I would want to ask one or two people to tell me what they've heard about depression, and let's put it together, how it comes, how it happens, that is the pathophysiology, and what they've, the minds and the beliefs about depression, so that we wrap up this session. Thank you.
And Jazakallah Khairan, Dr. Shobaki, this beautiful segment uh, of this episode. So, inshallah, we would always ask two members that are interested in contributing experience, so their idea on solving depression issues or a contribution session on what depression on the youth productivity. Just signify by raising up your hand and say Taslim while we listen to you. Anyone that wants to say something, please? Hello. Please, if you have signified, kindly go ahead. Kindly go ahead. I can't view the participants' video messages. Kindly go ahead. Any body that wants to say one or two things should please go ahead or mute your mic as well as your video as well, so we can see you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.
Now, please. We want part of the participants to contribute to this effect.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm so pleased for you being part of this program. Beautiful sister.
Yeah,
Please
this is
go ahead.
Lawal Alimat.
Now.
Yeah, I actually want to contribute based on what Doctor has said. Doctor, thank you very much for the lecture. But as at last year, there was a statistics on puerperal depression. There was a statistics of one of every women that puts to bed, one out of 4 comes down with puerperal depression. And these statistics
Yeah,
have
that's
been
correct.
for a
That's
while.
correct.
Yeah?
That's correct.
Okay, so, and again, what I got to discover was that in this part of our own world, let me say part of our own country, especially for the Yorubas, when a woman puts to bed, we realize that the mother-in-laws don't help them. Like the Igbos now, they have something that they call omogo, where maybe the mother-in-law comes maybe 6 months, 3 months, and the other one comes 3 months, which makes 6 months. But the Yorubas, though some of them usually claim that they do 41 days, but it's not always 41 days. Even when some of them come to do the 41 days, you realize that it is even the woman that just put to bed that does all the house chores. She still cooks, does so much of things. I remember that I met a lady recently. She was down with this ailment and got to the extent that she almost killed her baby. She almost killed herself, and it was so much on her because people around her are not helping her. She has to breastfeed her baby, wash her baby clothes, do all sorts of things, and she still has to cook for her mother-in-law, do the house. And this was actually telling on her health. And it got to a stage that was she the only one experiencing this kind of a thing? So I think I believe that from our own antenatal end as nurses, I believe that we have been doing a lot in order to help educate them. Then we always encourage them to bring their husbands so that we can explain all these things to them. Because sometimes some of their husbands don't understand why they actually go into this thing, but they don't know that it is because people around them are not actually helping them. And because of the physiological changes that they actually went through the period of the 9 months, their body are yet to come to normal. So by that, adding to their problem by making them to do some sort of things might make them to go into depression.
Yeah,
So that's what I
those could even act as stressors for
yes,
the woman, and as long as she continues to have a stressor, all disease,
No.
particularly the psychiatric illnesses. So
yeah,
as long as there are, so, and there is something also called it are quite different. You from them, it gets to them, and that minute, press they feel sad because they want to get themselves out of. Let me make a joke out of this whole thing. If you have seen the Big Brother Nigeria lately, there was an episode where I was viewing something different from what was playing out there, because there's this guy called Lekon, and who was very much in love with Erica. At some point, he continued to enter a depressive episode and was unable to take himself out, even as long as he continues to try. He tries so much, he gets into that path again. And when the lady came to discuss with him, he went back into a depressive state because the lady was seen as a stressor to him. It could be like a house thing, but when you view it with some background knowledge, you just try to, because in psychiatry, you try to view everybody's psychological state. What is this one state? What is this one state? Then you'll be able to pinpoint that you almost want to diagnose everybody, actually. So it's interesting to see that part of depression in people who are affected. And it's also okay not to be a contributor or not to be a stressor to their problems. You can always try. The treatment could be that you will talk to them. That is psychotherapy. From psychotherapy, you could go all along to giving them some drugs that could help them. Uh, if you want to talk about psychotherapy, that is considered as the most useful because it's only on the extreme that you tend to use drugs. Psychotherapy is when you sit the person down. There's also something called the insight. You check what the insight is. Does this person really know that he or she is sick? If the agreement is that, okay, yes, I know I'm sick, then you now say, okay, we can now help you. Talk to the person. We have a way of speaking to people and calming their nerves. And also, there are also some Quranic verses that will say, okay, we want to talk to this person. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this and all that. So before you now say, all right, you want to go to drugs, really. So most of the episodes we'll do with psychotherapy, we're just speaking to them consistently, and most might not do. Most might require you going to some drugs that may replace those neurotransmitters, those deficient chemicals that I talked about in the. All right, thank you for your contribution, Sister Lawal Alima. I really appreciate that study you brought to mind. Yes, I appreciate. 1 in 4 of every women that put to bed in the episode. Let's watch out for it. So we need to really help women. We really need to help them, especially post.
All right, that's Jazakumullah Khairan to Doctor. I want to say thank you to say that Mrs. Iyabo, the nurse that actually made a major contribution to this program. All still boils down to parental and you won't be so about just because of parental style. So we might look into that problem. You teach people with love and the experience and the relaxed mind so that they can get your message that you want to put in on how to take care of your child. And so I also want a male, please, to also contribute to this discourse at the level of this house, please. Any brother or any male participant that don't mind being part of the program, please.
I'm sorry, briefly, while you were making your comments, Sister Mariam, you
No.
pointed out a very important topic that you as a moderator could look into for further discussion, and that is parenting. I just quickly bring that for you before. Somebody to talk parenting actually because it seems to be lost in our some people seem do on an extreme and eventually affect the overpower. So I'm talking about. So it's quite important to just brought up.
Inshallah, we'll note that. Inshallah, do it in a year, and we'll get back to you on that. Just mentioned. Anyone that wants to contribute to this discourse, please, we will really appreciate your contribution, please. Kindly say Taslim or hello or good evening, as the case may be. Okay, while waiting for others that wants to say, kindly unmute if you want to say something, Mike. So your camera so in the or device. We appreciate your contribution.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's another sister.
I want the doctor to advise the youth on how to deal with their peers, like we like that have some underlying issues so that we can't speak out. They are like someone like our friends are doing well, and we were at some kind of stage that we are not doing well. So depression sets in at times. We usually just try to just shake it off, but it sets in when we see what our peers are doing and we're not doing that. So we want you to help us, like talk to us about how we can go about it. Like, I don't know if you get that.
Okay, this question is for Dr. Shubanke. I hope you're online to address that. Okay, while waiting for
I'm
Dr.
online. I didn't really get her question. I was just going to say that.
She said some of the youths, their peers, some are doing well, some are not doing well. So those groups that are not doing well, what advice would you give them not to get depressed? And if they are depressed, what advice would you give them to overcome their depression state? That's the question.
Actually, as a psychotherapist, I know you have a lot of answers to that question, but let me come in, and you also come in. The thing is, doing well is actually relative. Yeah, doing well is relative. If your measure of doing well is by worldly things, then you might be mistaken, actually. But however, so we all have definitions for the term doing well. Yes, let me put it at that. But what people regard as doing well in this part of the world will be what I have, what I can put on, what people can see on me, how much swag do I have and all. This has caused or has pushed so many people doing things that are quite unacceptable to cultural values, to the values of the society. You find someone feeling that he or she is not doing well, and he just goes around to commit suicide. Just before the pandemic, I had a patient from FUNAB, the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, that came in and he was brought in unconscious, and he was said to have drank some. I think it was either hypo or a detergent. I can't recall. And when I spoke to him, I found out that he was diagnosed to have retroviral disease about 6 months ago. And how did I get to him? I spoke to one of his friends that I discovered that during the course of treatment, this guy was always with him. And I said, yeah, I come. What do you think has gone wrong with your friend? And he just said, okay, he has seen nothing, but he saw a WhatsApp status. Because what people post, people just come online to say, I'm not posting what is me, I'm not this. People are going through a lot. If you check people's WhatsApp, and they just want to bring. I spoke to him, and he said he saw his WhatsApp status was waving a good fuse. So on that basis, I took it on from there, and I got to know that this guy was diagnosed to be this, and with the help of the drugs they found in his apartment. So, and people could be going through a lot of things, but if you don't get close to them, you actually don't know what the problem is. We could go on and on and discuss this, but when you say not doing, let it be.
I'm sorry, permit me for cutting you short because of the time. We have exceeded the time for the program. I'm very sure we are all enjoying it. I want to be part of this program for about 2 to 3 years, but because of other factors and other people are waiting to perform other responsibilities, we have to have a choice than to bring this program to an end. I want to appreciate all participants as well as.
Someone is raising up his hand. Maybe we just take the person, a male person. Hey, Akindele. Maybe it's just
okay, please go ahead. But you need to know that you just have about 2 to 3 minutes to talk, please, because of the time. Thank you. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kindly permit me to speak behind the veil. I just want to make a contribution, like our sister requested that the males should vote. To me, depression can also be fought with our religion and our path, especially because majority of corporation, like comparison, or when things are not going as expected, when things are going wrong, when they are expected to go right. As Muslims and as Tijanis, so part of.
Oh, really? Oh, there. Oh, Momoto.
Unmute your mic, please.
Now, as Muslims and as Tijanis, what is taught, what we are taught, what is expected of us is that we shouldn't see anything as being ours, even when something and we are yet to get it. So far we are seeing things as.
They kindly mute your mic, please.
So if we are knowledgeable enough, or we understand enough that everything that we want to possess is not really ours, even when it is in our possession. so we won't be depressed by things that are not going the way that is expected. So using this opportunity to tell our scholars in the house and our people in the helms of our affairs that part of our programs while we are doing it, to topics that people, so that we know that verses like Surah Tawbah, which says that Lan yusibana illa ma kataba Allahu lana huwa maulana. So it's part of what a Muslim or a Tijani can use to battle and issue that is important. Even you yourself, you don't have any God's property. So, and something that doesn't belong to others really bother us. So you should journey or the Sufi perspective to be fighting depression at our own end. So that's my simple contribution.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for that beautiful observation. And inshallah, your observation is noted and will be implemented as soon as possible. We want to say thank you for being part of this program and adding your quota as little and as big as it is. So because of the time, we want to say Jazakumullah khairan to all participants, the brain behind the program, the pioneers, the project management team, as well as other people that has contributed one or two things to the success of this program. So thank you for being part. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.